The story begins in the quiet space between intention and action, where ambition lives loudly but effort whispers excuses. It is the story of a person who dreams vividly, who imagines success in sharp detail, yet struggles to take the first step. Not because they lack intelligence, or vision, or even desire, but because something deeper holds them still. This is the psychology of someone who appears lazy on the surface but is, in reality, trapped in a silent battle within. From the outside, their life looks like a contradiction. They talk about big goals, meaningful change, and a better future. They consume motivation, save inspiring videos, and plan endlessly. But when it comes to execution, something breaks. Days pass. Weeks pass. The gap between what they want and what they do grows wider, and with it, the weight of guilt becomes heavier. At the core of this struggle is not laziness, it is emotional resistance. Their mind is not empty, it is overcrowded. Overthinking replaces action. Fear disguises itself as procrastination. They imagine failure before even trying, and that imagined failure feels so real that it drains their energy before any real effort begins. Every task feels heavier than it should, not because it is difficult, but because it carries the burden of expectation. They don't just want to succeed, they feel like they have to. This pressure turns even small steps into overwhelming mountains. Starting becomes terrifying, because starting means risking proof that they might not be good enough. So they delay. They wait for the perfect moment, the perfect mood, the perfect version of themselves that never seems to arrive. And so, inactivity becomes a form of protection. But protection has a cost. With every delayed action, their self-trust erodes. They begin to see themselves as unreliable, inconsistent, weak. This perception reinforces the cycle. The more they believe they are lazy, the less capable they feel. And the less capable they feel, the harder it becomes to act. It is not a lack of ambition that traps them, it is the fear of not living up to it. Deep inside, they carry a vision of who they could become. That vision is powerful, but it is also intimidating. It creates a painful comparison between their current self and their ideal self. Instead of inspiring progress, this gap often creates paralysis. Because when the distance feels too large, the brain chooses comfort over discomfort. Comfort becomes the escape. Scrolling, watching, distracting, these are not just habits, but coping mechanisms. They offer temporary relief from the pressure of expectation. In those moments, the mind gets a break from self-judgment. But when the distraction ends, reality returns stronger, heavier, louder. And the cycle repeats. What makes this struggle even more complex is that they are fully aware of it. They know they are wasting time. They know what they should be doing. This awareness does not help, it intensifies the pain. It turns every moment of rest into guilt, every moment of delay into self-criticism. They are not unaware, they are overwhelmed. At some point, the emotional weight becomes too much to ignore. Not in a dramatic explosion, but in a quiet realization. A moment where they recognize that the problem is not their lack of discipline, but their relationship with themselves. They begin to see that they have been trying to force action through pressure, fear, and self-criticism. And that approach has only made things worse. This realization changes something subtle but powerful. Instead of asking, "Why am I so lazy?" they begin to ask, "What am I avoiding?" That question shifts the focus from judgment to understanding. They start noticing patterns. Tasks that trigger anxiety. Situations that create self-doubt. Goals that feel meaningful but also frightening. They begin to understand that their inaction is not random, it is a response. A response to fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of discovering their limits. And once something is understood, it can be addressed. They stop trying to fix everything at once. Instead of chasing massive productivity, they focus on small, manageable actions. They lower the intensity of their expectations. They replace the need to be perfect with the willingness to begin. This is where real change starts, not with motivation, but with permission. Permission to start imperfectly. Permission to move slowly. Permission to fail without turning it into a personal identity. They begin to act, not because they feel ready, but because they accept that readiness is not required. At first, the progress is small, almost invisible. But something important happens, they keep going. Consistency replaces intensity. And with consistency comes evidence. Evidence that they can follow through. Evidence that they are capable of change. This evidence slowly rebuilds their self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of discipline. As their trust grows, the emotional resistance weakens. Tasks no longer feel as heavy. The gap between intention and action begins to shrink. They still feel fear, still experience doubt, but these emotions no longer control their behavior. They learn that action is not the result of confidence, it is the cause of it. With each step forward, they redefine what ambition means. It is no longer about achieving perfection or reaching an ideal version of themselves. It becomes about showing up, even when it is uncomfortable. They understand that laziness was never the true problem. It was a label placed on a deeper struggle, a struggle with fear, pressure, and self-perception. And once that label is removed, something shifts. They no longer see themselves as broken or incapable. They see themselves as someone who needed a different approach. Someone who needed understanding instead of criticism. This shift changes everything. Because when a person stops fighting themselves, they start working with themselves. And that is where real transformation happens. The story does not end with perfection or endless productivity. It ends with awareness, balance, and growth. With the understanding that progress is not about eliminating struggle, but about learning how to move through it. The person who once felt stuck between ambition and inaction begins to move, not perfectly, not quickly, but consistently. And in that consistency, they find something more valuable than success. They find peace with themselves. Because in the end, the greatest challenge was never about doing more. It was about becoming someone who believes they can.